and up-leveled it after the beta, are still students and are students and mentors, and some of them are even coaches now in our program because they've gotten such great results and have learned to really leverage their business. Now, one of the designers who took it back then, Anna Maria Andrikin, I love her story so much. She's one of our coaches now and a mentee in our SOS coaching program, which is our sort of like our top tier coaching program. We work a little bit more in depth with the designers. She had developed breast cancer maybe about a year or two after she took the Laying the Foundation program. And she built her business on doing in-person shows in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and all over the South where she lives. And she couldn't do any of the shows because she had to have surgery and she couldn't lift the tables, and she had to basically stay in bed for months recovering from her treatments and chemo and the surgery that she had. So she had to figure out another way, and she used what we taught her. We do have a lot of systems and we teach people how to sell in person, but she used what we taught her about selling online to transition those customers into like basically virtual customers or online clients. And this was way back then when online buying of jewelry wasn't even as big of a thing. She was able to replace her complete income for the year working from bed just by using the desired brand effect in her business. And so I love hearing results like that, because what ends up happening is like the more you test and try different things in your business, and this is for any artist or any designer or creative type, the more you test like different ideas, the more you can innovate and the more you can continue to grow. And about 2 years ago, we asked her to be a coach because she just had been crushing it. And this last spring, you know, her business still does rely on these in-person shows. And she's been doing so much to optimize, but obviously with this COVID-19 thing, all the art shows are canceled. All this brick and mortar retail is closed. And the designers who are completely thriving have learned how to use everything that we teach, at least in our community, everything that we teach to sell online to basically save their businesses. Mm-hmm. We had an event, our event was supposed to be in person. We had to obviously cancel it because of COVID, but we had a virtual event, and I was like, okay, you guys, tell me what's going on. How are things going? Ongoing reports of my best online sales month ever. You know, I am, replacing all the orders just by doing all the things that you guys taught us. And I love it because Anna Maria in particular, since she's a coach in our program, she was sharing, she's like, I've had this idea years about doing a direct mail campaign, and I launched it, and I'm getting like amazing results. And then she decided to also innovate and create a virtual art show and invited like 3 designers to come in where they leverage each other's audiences and they all cross-sell to each other. So there's just like so much amazingness and great innovation coming out of people who like find a community or a place to go, and then they just continue to expand, their knowledge and what they're doing. And I love her story in particular because she never has let adversity or anything get her down. Instead, she uses it as a challenge to overcome like any situation that she's faced with. And I think that's really the key to success as an artist or a creative, is just being able to tap into your resourcefulness and continue going in the face of adversity when you think, because I think it's a normal reaction for artists and creative types to feel like there's, the myth of the starving artist syndrome is really real. Yeah. And that they have a lot of fear about putting themselves out there because it feels honestly like rejection sometimes if someone says no or things aren't going well. But the ones who continue to put themselves out there and just build like that resilience, like they always end up thriving. It's incredible to me. And it's so inspiring. I just love sharing stories like that.
This way they flourish and thrive.
Yes, exactly.
Just a clever name, everybody.
Yep.
I know a lot of podcasters use that as a way to do coaching and do, appearances and public speaking. Not now, but generally. They write their books.
Virtual speaking these days.
Which is great that we can still interview like this.
Yeah.
And you did mention you have your own podcast called Thrive by Design. What made you decide to say, I'm going to do a podcast? I
was doing a lot of video content, and I still do. And I do weekly content for our blog, because that's what back when I started Flourish and Thrive, I was told, you need to blog once a week, you need to send out emails. And so I followed the prescription that I was taught, and I do it. And this is what I teach this to, for a different purpose. And so I was putting out video content every single week, and it was just exhausting because I like to have, at that point, I wanted to have like the professional camera guy and to come in and, the hair and makeup and the whole thing, because I wanted to be professionally produced. And every 6 weeks we'd had to do it. And we were trying to meet up a lot. Robin and I were trying to meet up a lot to do it. And it just was nearly impossible because we don't live in the same city. So, and back then Zoom wasn't around. So we were using Skype, and the quality of the videos just didn't look that good. So I ended up doing about 2 years of video content for our blog. And then I started listening to podcasts, and I was like, you know what? I think for my audience, even though I love video, because I still create a lot of video content, maybe the podcast is better because they can listen while they're working at the bench, but they can't watch a video while they're working at the bench. They can listen to the video, but usually they wouldn't. And so I just did a little basic survey in our community, and I asked, would you listen to a podcast? They said yes. And so I just tried it, and I'm like, well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. The results were insane because we went from having a couple hundred views on the videos to thousands of downloads on the podcast because people listen to it while they are making jewelry. And so it doesn't require them to stop and watch. It's more of we'll just sit here and listen while I'm working. And so that was sort of the impetus. I knew I needed to develop content and to be teaching and use it as a tool to build my audience, create that desire, and be able to use it as a sales tool to get people into our programs and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, I'm really interested in helping as many jewelry designers as possible. I wouldn't be doing this if it was just for the money. It's too much work. There are many easier ways to make money than building an education company. So at the end of the day, it was really just about, being able to serve. And the response has been fantastic. We are I think I've had the podcast for, I think it's 4.5 years now. I can't believe it. We're on I'm launching episode 250 next week.
Congrats.
And, just keep plugging along. I love it though. I love just sitting and talking about topics or interviewing people and stuff like that.
It shows, definitely. Where does this passion to help and empower people come from?
Where does it come from? I don't know. I do kind of know, I guess, I suppose. I grew up in a really big family. Mm-hmm. I'm the second oldest of 8 children. Wow. And because I'm the second oldest, and my parents together had 6, and then my dad and my stepmom had 2 more. I did a lot of caring for the younger siblings in the first round. And I became the helper of my family, the one who wanted to help people. And so I don't really know where it comes from. Maybe it comes from that, but I do have, this natural desire to teach, and maybe a talent too, to teach and train people and to inspire people and motivate them. It's really fun for me. I got divorced when I was about 30, which was a long time ago. And my ex-husband and I were super into yoga, and kind of as a healing process, I decided to take this yoga teacher training. And my teacher was like, you're a natural. It just sort of like my mentor in college said, you're a natural at designing the jewelry. He's like, you're a natural at teaching. You should really consider this. I never thought about taking the teacher training to become a teacher. It was really more just to heal myself and to go into a deeper yoga practice. And so he gave me a class, and I started teaching. I loved it. I got recruited by Crunch Fitness at one point when I was living in San Francisco, and I started teaching for them. And eventually started working for Equinox Fitness when I moved to New York City. And it was never planned, but it was something that I just loved doing. Like I loved it when I would have a student who started with me in a beginner class and then was then doing like advanced arm balances a couple years later, just watching their progression and feeling like I'd been a part of that journey. Like seriously, I get so pumped for people who try something, and even if they fail, the fact that they're trying, or they try something and it works and they get like more success or recognition, like it really is super exciting for me. And I think that's why I like doing it. I don't really know where it comes from, except that, honestly, I wouldn't be doing this if I wouldn't be doing this if it was just for the money, because it's not. It's a lot of work and a lot of sweat equity that me and my team put in to support these designers. It's really about watching them succeed. And I think a lot of it too came down to the fact that I went through so much hardship when my first business failed and having to file for bankruptcy. When all this COVID stuff first started, I was like having flashbacks, almost like PTSD at that time, because it felt very similar, like a lot of the circumstances and stuff like that. And my designers were freaking out. And my team were like, Tracy, I've never seen you so calm in like the whole time we've been working for you. Like people on my team would say that. And I was like, really? And I was like, and then I kind of realized, I'm like, yeah, it's because like, this is what I've been preparing everyone for. How do you save your business in, it's easy to have a successful business when times are good, right? It's not easy to have a successful business when things aren't good. And so this has been a really exciting time for me. It's really stressful, I think, for a lot of people, but it's exciting for me because I get to see what people are made of and what their businesses really mean to them, because the ones who want it are going to come out of this thing like so strong, and the ones who are just kind of dabbling, maybe it's not as important to them, and that's totally fine. There's no shame or anything wrong in that. They might struggle a little bit, and this is like where you have this point to like really face the music, like, am I doing this or not? And so to me, it's been fun because for the most part, especially the members in our higher end programs, they're just like leaning in. Like I thought for sure we'd have a ton of cancellations, and we have not. Like not even close to what I thought we would. We have had a few, which is, expected, but mostly the people are just like, well, this is what they've been saying, like, this is what you've been, training us for, and now it's time to try it. And they're doing so well. I'm just so proud of everyone who has the courage to continue putting themselves out there, because it's working. Not everyone's struggling, and many people still have a lot of money to spend on things like jewelry and art and products and all those things, and they're bored because they're sitting on their couch with nowhere to go, no dinner plans, and they have extra time on their hands, unless they're homeschooling all their kids.
Art will survive. It always does.
Art will survive. People need it. It's the truth.
Speaking of that, let's get into your artistic process. How do you approach a new jewelry design? Is it the same process for any piece of jewelry you want to design, or is it different?
It's relatively the same, because I do custom work. So I work specifically with a person. I design in my style. So like everything that I design has like a certain look and feel. When I am designing though, it really starts with a conversation, and I call it like intuitive design in a way, because I can kind of pick up like what's going to work best for them. Because like the common response I get from people when I'm designing for them is like, wow, this is better than I ever expected it would be. So it starts really with like this intuitive design process, like getting to know the person, understanding like what it is that they want. We do like a little bit of feedback loop. So they gave me some design inspiration and stuff like that if they have it. Sometimes I'm working literally with a blank slate, which is oftentimes challenging. Mm-hmm. And then, we go back and forth. So I'll, sometimes I need to sit with it for a while and think about it. I'll provide some sketches, and usually they're just hand sketches, and I present them to the customer, and they tell me what they like and they tell me what they don't like, if they don't like anything or